All right, so we actually have two different ways of recording, so to make sure we really get this.
Perfect.
So since we're trying a little experiment, we'll see how everybody likes trying it this way. See if more people want to try it like this.
Perfect.
But okay, so we are going to talk about your case, and
Hmm.
you're going to give us a little summary or a little pieces of information about parentified children, working with parentified children, and then we'll call it a wrap, and we'll turn it over to your classmates to participate in their way.
Perfect.
Okay, can we end with the discussion questions?
Yeah.
Make that be the last thing. And you know what? I'll also write them down so that I can post them
Yeah.
in words.
Absolutely. I have
All
it
right.
on my PowerPoint too.
Oh,
So
excellent. Okay. All right. Well, we'll turn it over to you.
perfect. So my topic is about parentification. I work with my client who is I don't know, put in that tense, but
Parentified.
parentified. But she's my case, and I'm gonna share over my PowerPoint right now
Okay.
so that we can get started. Let me see. Can you see it?
Yes. There, you're good.
Oh, not sure. All right.
Okay.
So my topic is about parentification. So what is it? Parentification is when a child or even an adolescent is taking on the roles and responsibilities of a parent. So that could be if they're an adolescent, they're working, they are paying for bills, they're paying for groceries. For more child, it's they're watching their younger siblings, they're doing chores around the house. In a lot of cases too, they're taking on the emotional burdens of their parents.
It's like they're like the confidant, like kind of like an age appropriate listening
Mhm.
ear for stuff they really shouldn't know about or have to deal with.
Absolutely. A
Yeah.
child is becoming more mature and, a mature level that isn't correct for their age. So,
Yeah. Sometimes I've heard it described as pseudo maturity, where like on the one hand they're extremely mature, like they seem like mini
mhm.
adults, but that's not really who they are. Like they're still kids with kid needs and kid vulnerabilities. But in those moments where they've been kind of like, developed into pseudo adults, they can seem very adult
Yes.
like.
Yes, absolutely. And it takes a toll on them.
Mm.
I see it a lot with my client, especially. So we see this with more parents that have, alcohol abuse or a substance abuse disorder that's taken them away from that family and their responsibilities. Or it can even be in the case of a parent that has a mental
Right.
or a medical condition too. Oh, the sun is like shining. Can you still?
Yeah, you got like strobe lights behind you. Yeah, but
I
it's
know.
okay.
I was like, "Whoa, what is that?" But it could all it doesn't always have to be the parent is being neglectful. It could be again like the parent could have a disability of some sort or a medical condition. So that can have a child, let's say the oldest child, even taking on the responsibilities of their
Yeah.
younger kids
And it's kind of
or their
interesting
younger.
because there's like this big debate about like what happens. Like, does a parent look at a kid and say, "You're the responsible one. I'm going to need you to help me more than the others," or is it something just within that kid that they just kind of rise to the occasion, and the parent doesn't know to say to them, "Thanks for your help, but you're really a kid, and I've got to." I got to deal with adult stuff, and you stay with the kid stuff. Because
Yeah.
some kids put themselves in that position, but they need adults to be like, no, you know,
Yes. Yeah. So you see it in, as you were saying, like in different situations. I mean, it can be where the parent, for if you see multiple kids, usually
yeah,
you have the oldest one, the parent saying or the guardian, asking that child to like help with the younger siblings, doing this and that. And then if the parent is, they'll kind of use that with them. So they'll
hmm
use that child as support and help, but at some point that parent may not know when to tell them, no,
hmm
you're still a child, like you need to do
right,
X, Y, and Z,
yeah,
that. that child is now going to have that responsibility of
Yeah.
taking care of everybody and taking
Yeah.
care of everything. And it may then become that second nature of
Yeah.
what they're going to do. So,
Yeah.
and so that there's another way is that, that their parents are not having enough emotional support. So the child is now taking in, all that emotional burden from their parent because their parent doesn't have an outlet. So they could be talking about, different topics that shouldn't be discussed with a child. I see this a lot too with like divorced parents.
Yeah.
There becomes a toxic relationship of a parent talking bad about their ex.
Yeah.
And that can also have a really bad effect on not only that parent's relationship, but the way that a child is seen as themselves. They can see themselves as being the responsibility of that divorce.
Right. And I've seen that too a lot actually with kids that go into foster care, and they're taken out of foster care and they're put in a foster home, and they're 10. But they get into that foster home and they want to discipline the other children. They want to set their own bedtime. They want to, they walk into that foster house with the behaviors that have been rewarded in another system. And the foster parents are like, whoa, you know what? You're 10. I'm 50. I'm kind of in charge of the house, not you. And they have a really hard time with that, because both do. Because, functional, healthy parents are like, no, kid, be a kid. And the kids are like, why don't you want my help? This is how I feel good about myself.
Yes. And the child may not even understand it, that they're doing it as well. Like they see themselves as really trying to help. And sometimes that can get them in trouble too, because they're looking at themselves as an equal to the adult. Yes. And that can get them in trouble at, in a foster home. It can get them in trouble with school. And that can really have an almost a negative effect, even though they are trying their best to help out. Some signs for this is that you see a lot of similar responses as to like anxiety and depression. So you're going to have the child have a kind of a drain. They're going to be very anxious. They're going to just be constantly like on edge. Some may have suicidal thoughts, that they are not fulfilling everything. They will then too, I've seen with my client especially is that she neglects her schoolwork to then take care of her siblings. And so that can have a negative impact on school and at home, that they're not being a child. They're not playing outside. Instead, they're helping their younger siblings with homework or their older siblings. Feeling that guilt or shame if they don't do their role or they don't do what they're expected in the family. Feeling of concern. They may start to isolate themselves because they may not find themselves to be related to their other classmates.
It'd be hard to make friends.
And they'll start to kind of pull away from their parents. Especially if like a parent is, constantly like asking them to do something, they may kind of start to shut down. But there are a lot of different, it's hard to, it's hard to see it when you don't know what you're looking for, because if you don't know the child's situation, it's going to be very challenging to, you just will think that they just have like anxiety or depression or, suicidal thoughts. You won't know specifically unless you know what's going on in the household, that this is, that they're being parentified.
And sometimes I think you see that in absentee rates, like sometimes kids want to find reasons to be home, especially if there's the parent that they see as needy at home. And so sometimes they might achieve staying at home by getting kicked out of school, suspended or something like that, or truant, or sometimes they're just chronically sick, and they want to go home sick or they miss. And, but what they're really wanting is to be home because they're either anxious or B, they feel like they need to be there for that parent or, all of those things that you were just mentioning.
Yeah. So their symptoms can be, like misdiagnosed, saying that, you're not that's what they're feeling, but you don't know why. You don't know the main point of it. But I'm going to get into about my client.
Okay, yes.
So she's in 5th grade. She's at my internship at a Harena, the German exchange school, community school. She is a very caring, very maternal instinct. She's always, she always asks me how I'm doing. When I meet with her, she's just a very sweet person. She was very shy at the beginning when I first met her. She didn't want to open up. The main purpose of why I was meeting her was she wasn't even on my supervisor's caseload. She was actually on somebody else's caseload. But my other supervisor has had previous, she was on her caseload last year and it all got shifted. And so she really wanted me to be there for her and have me be the outlet for her to talk to, especially like, cause she's kind of stuck in the middle between everybody, which I'll get into. So her story is pretty detailed. I mean, she comes from a separated family. Her father remarried. Her father was then arrested for drugs, unregistered weapons, etc. His case was actually dropped because the evidence was tampered with. And she has an older brother, an older sister, a twin brother, a younger brother, and an infant sister. And so she's like right smack in the middle.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She's the seventh. So there's 7 altogether. Yeah.
7 altogether, and she's right in the middle. Her and her twin brother are right in the middle. Her oldest brother had sexually assaulted her youngest brother multiple times. Her twin brother tried to commit suicide last year and then just came back home at the end of the year, right around Christmas time. Her infant sister was born a twin at 6 months old. One of her twin sisters had passed away just a month ago.
So the child that died was the twin. They were twins, and one made it and one didn't make it.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, her youngest sister was a twin. Only lived for about 3 months, I think, and then had passed away. And then within that same month, she found out that her stepmom and her oldest sister were pregnant.
Yeah, just a lot of chaos.
And I believe too, like she was told about the pregnancies, and I don't know if it, I think she found out pretty early on about the pregnancy. It wasn't like, the parents are, 3 months pregnant or anything. It's like they found out and then she was found out.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is not the best, obviously not the best kind of situation, especially like how there can be multiple complications, at that, that early on. And so she's just kind of like taking on responsibilities for her younger siblings, her older siblings as well. And she's just, with her mom, she's always taking on those emotional burden, especially because with the twin passing away and, that father of that twin not being there.
Yeah. And did the twin that survive, I mean, sometimes children that are born that early have like special needs or...
That I'm not aware of, but I know that her mom didn't know that her mom did not know that she was pregnant until she went to the hospital with pain, and she was 6 months pregnant with twins and was in labor.
Whoa.
Yeah. And
so the two younger kids that she's spending so much time kind of taking care of, one is a boy that has a terrible sexual abuse history, and one is a child that just lost their twin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, so these, not only does she taking care of younger siblings, but like I would imagine these are really high need younger siblings.
Yeah. Her brother is on a caseload as well. Actually, on my supervisors, but his case is very, he's showing a lot of characteristics from someone that's been sexually assaulted, which is very unfortunate. He's only in 1st grade.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this is a very tragic case.
Yeah, so she has a lot going on. I don't believe I don't think she's aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if she's aware that her brother went away for suicide attempts.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that her brother had tried to jumped out a window.
And so that happened when if he's in first grade now. This is a serious suicide attempt as a very young child.
Well, that's her twin brother.
Oh,
her twin brother
okay,
was the
okay,
one that tried
okay.
to
I
commit
forgot about
suicide.
that. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So her twin brother was the one that tried to commit suicide, and her youngest brother was the one that was sexually assaulted by the oldest brother, who's not with them anymore.
I get that. Sorry.
Yep. No, it's all a tangled web with.
Yes.
Definitely with her case.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want me to go into my questions?
Sure,
next,
go ahead.
Do you have any other questions? Okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, can I ask you quickly? It's just this last week that school went back. Have you had a chance to actually meet her in person now?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
I haven't met her yet. So, and I don't know if she's going into school or not, because they were, because I guess like everything's still online. So,
yeah.
by
some places you had to go back. Some places got a waiver.
Yes, and so I hope that she's coming back just to kind of get her out of the house.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's an interesting thing too, to be trapped in that house now for like the last year with no. I mean, she can meet with you on Zoom, but that's not quite the same as having another adult just to protect you and be having some distance from all that.
Yes, and I also believe that I believe every child has a different father as well.
Mm-hmm. Does she have any contact with her father? Is there any contact with?
She does have a good relationship with her father, and it's actually, like his case. Like the best way for me to kind of explain it, like either way, like what he did wasn't good or anything like that, but like obviously, but his house, like he's more financially stable. He's his house is more of a safe environment. Like because she's being pulled, like that she'll go see her father,
right?
But and her father doesn't have all the kids there, so she has time to be an only child for and just be a child.
Does the dad have any idea of the craziness going on in her house?
Oh, no, I'm sure. So I think that she does try to go there more often. And, my supervisor, kind of thinks too as well that it's good. It's better for her sanity and for her safety. And overall, it's just a lot better for her at her father's house.
Yeah. Even
though, like, I don't know if he still does it or not, but I know that all of his charges were dropped.
Yeah.
So that's as far as I kind of know with his situation.
And so, you don't know what's happening, but in other words, he has kind of a clean slate right now. And he seems like, at least with her, he's kind of a good guy.
Yes. Yeah. For her, like, he's a good outlet for her.
Yeah.
And I believe he's doing better, but now his wife, or his partner is pregnant.
That's going to change everything.
And then after her sister had just passed away like a month ago, she found out that her older sister got pregnant.
How old is she, the sister?
I believe like in her, I think 16.
Yeah.
And so like I'll talk about it too in my questions, but one of my biggest concerns that like I really discussed with my supervisor is that she is so maternal and takes care of everybody. We're really concerned that she would be like, I'm just going to have a child because I'm going to do a better job at it than you guys are, kind of a thing.
Well, and the idea to have someone love you. So, the way that I think sometimes if you've felt, because sometimes I think parentified kids can feel kind of exploited on some level. Like they kind of know on some level that, this isn't supposed to happen.
Yes.
And so maybe the idea of having her own boyfriend, for example, and having that person all to herself, so to speak, and I think that's a pretty real concern.
Yeah, and she kind of, and when I had asked her, what's going on with just one of my weekly check-ins, she at first didn't say anything, and then she's like, hold on, and she goes and runs and closes the door, and she goes, my sister's pregnant. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, your older sister? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, oh, like, how, like, what what was your reaction to that? And she goes, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Probably more coming.
I know she kind of had like the attitude of like, it's like another one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and my supervisor was also expressing that she's nervous that the mom will try to get pregnant again.
Yeah. Oh, this is a tough case.
Yeah.
Well, and
So-
I mean, it's a tough case, and I mean, and we'll let you get to your questions in a minute. But you're also, unless you think you're going to get hired there, you're in like your last month.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is, it's really hard. Like I'm already starting to, you know, I was telling them from like the get-go that I won't be there for like the whole school year, but it's like, now it's hard for me because I'm having to now have to like start reinforcing that I'm not going to be here for the whole entire semester, which I know they're going to have a tough time with.
Yeah.
Because overall, my kiddos that I check in with, they're all really great. So
Yeah.
it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough part.
It's tough on you and them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want me to go through my
sure.
question?
Go on to your questions.
Perfect.
So,
all right. So my first one. Can you see it?
How do I guide my client with not following into her maternal instinct? So kind of like, how do you kind of help her see that she's more than just a caretaker?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, as I was saying before, like I'm nervous about her trying to fulfill that void, you know, that she has like missing, is that she doesn't have really somebody that she can look for as emotional support. And then also like I'm so worried that she would, you know, end up having a child at a young age.
Yeah.
Because she would think that she can do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
With taking care of a child versus somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
My second question is, what are some skills I can teach and work with my client to regain her childhood? So a lot of times with kids that are with parentification is that they kind of lose their childhood.
Yeah.
And
I think
it's really and I think it's such an important thing that at that age, like you gotta you know, you got to be a kid.
Yeah.
You're going to be an adult for the rest of your life, but you're only a kid for so long. And
so that question is kind of like, how do I help her be a kid?
Yeah. Like I really I don't know. I just need some help. Like, I'm just kind of like, especially because I only have a short period of time left with her. Like I have that relationship with her now.
Yeah.
But like, what are like some games or something that I can kind of work with her?
Or some kind of intervention that can kind of remind her that she's a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And then my last one is kind of like just a general question about like how would somebody be able to look for signs of parentification in a low risk child before they become high risk? Because obviously my client is high risk at this point because I obviously didn't know her.
Yeah. I mean, she's a wonderful example because her situation is so extreme. But there's a bazillion kids out there that maybe aren't quite that in situations quite that bad, but would still need the kind of help that you're thinking about for her.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 And I think what's hard about that is that, you know, these are the kind of kids that adults often overlook because we tend to like those qualities.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like, and again, like I connect with her very well.
Yeah.
And I think it's because sometimes I feel like I'm talking to somebody my own age.
Yeah.
Which is, like you said, it's like you kind of overlook it, but then you have to think about it and be like, wait, this client is only 10. In 5th grade. She should not have to be like know how to completely take care of a child more than me.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So,
exactly.
Here, I'll stop.
Okay.
And then just like I just wanted to make sure that nobody forgot to answer the questions.
So here, just in the last 2 minutes of our talk together, I'll tell you and people what I kind of had in mind. So after we say goodbye here, I'll create a link to this video, and I'll put it up on the class web page, and I'll ask the class to start a discussion post with those questions that you asked. And so today's Tuesday, or it's Tuesday afternoon. So hopefully, even by 10 o'clock tonight, even at some point later on tonight, hopefully I can put the video up. And then I would like for people to do those responses to you by Saturday. Why don't we say? And so you don't have to be a part of that, because the class is going to do that. And then what I was hoping for, Morgan, is that, Sunday, Monday, you could go on there and see what people said and just respond to them and just see if there's, anything you want to respond to or see what people said and what you think about that.
Absolutely.
And so then I think the best thing I could do next is also, I think there's a way, I have to maybe ask Nora how to do this, but to create like a poll. Do you want to continue this format next week? And if the class overwhelmingly says yes, let's do this. And if people's feedback was, well, that was interesting, but no, let's keep doing what we're doing, then we'll go back. But so the other thing that will be in the Play-Doh page, hopefully in the next couple of days, is this little poll. Do you like this? Should we keep doing this?
Perfect.
So that's where we'll stop. So you and me will sign off now, and people can hopefully look to see the recording up in the next few hours on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Thank you for being willing to try an experiment.
I'm willing to be a guinea pig.
All right.
Anytime.
Okay. Well, I'll see you probably next week at some point.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Not a problem.